the world stood still. September 11, 2001. The Twin Towers, symbols of American might, reduced to rubble. Thousands of innocent lives lost. It was a horrific act of terrorism, a tragedy that shook America to its core. But what if the truth about that day was more complex than we were led to believe? Could this have been an inside job? Could the U.S. government, or elements within it, have been involved in the events of 9/11? The official 9/11 Commission report concluded that the attacks were carried out by 19 al-Qaeda terrorists who hijacked 4 planes. But many people, including architects, engineers, and intelligence officials, have raised serious questions about the report's findings. It's time to delve into the heart of the controversy, to examine the evidence and to ask ourselves, was 9/11 an inside job? The idea that 9/11 was an inside job is deeply unsettling. It challenges our fundamental understanding of the world and the institutions we trust. So what are these unsettling theories and what evidence supports them? One of the most prevalent theories revolves around the collapse of the World Trade Center towers. Some experts argue that the buildings fell at near freefall speed, suggesting a controlled demolition rather than a collapse caused by the impact of the planes and subsequent fires. Another theory focuses on the Pentagon attack. Some researchers question whether a Boeing 757 could have caused the damage observed at the Pentagon. They propose that a smaller aircraft, such as a missile, may have been used instead. These theories, while controversial, are supported by eyewitness accounts. Firefighters and first responders at the World Trade Center reported hearing explosions before and during the collapse of the towers. Some witnesses at the Pentagon claim to have seen a small plane or missile, not a Boeing 757, hit the building. These accounts, while often dismissed as unreliable, deserve careful consideration. The Pentagon, the very heart of American military power, was also attacked on 9/11. A Boeing 757 American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the west side of the building, killing all 64 people on board and 125 people inside the Pentagon. The official story seems clear-cut. However, some intriguing details cast a long shadow of doubt on this narrative. The impact hole in the Pentagon's wall seemed disproportionately small for a Boeing 757. A plane of that size with its massive wingspan should have left a much larger gash. Where were the wings, the engines, the recognizable debris of a commercial airliner? The limited debris field raised more questions than it answered. Adding to the skepticism are the eyewitness accounts. Some individuals present at the scene claim to have seen a smaller aircraft, possibly a missile, strike the Pentagon. Their testimonies contradict the official narrative, adding fuel to the fire of doubt. The government's response to these questions has been met with skepticism by many. The Pentagon strike remains a point of contention in the 9/11 saga. The collapse of the World Trade Center towers remains one of the most debated aspects of the 9/11 attacks. The official explanation that the impact of the planes and subsequent fires led to a structural failure has been challenged by some architects and engineers. They point to the speed and symmetry of the collapse as evidence of a controlled demolition. The Twin Towers fell at near freefall speed, taking approximately 10 seconds for each tower to crumble to the ground. Adding to the suspicion is the symmetrical, straight-down manner in which the towers collapsed. Buildings typically fall in the direction of least resistance, rarely collapsing perfectly into their own footprint. The fact that both towers fell in such a controlled manner has led some to believe that explosives were used to weaken the structures and guide their descent. While the collapse of the Twin Towers remains a focal point of 9/11's conspiracy theories, the destruction of World Trade Center Building 7 adds another layer of complexity to the narrative. This 47-story skyscraper, part of the World Trade Center complex but not hit by a plane, collapsed at 5:20 p.m. on September 11th. Its sudden and complete destruction has fueled speculation and raised questions about the official explanation. The official report states that Building 7 collapsed due to debris from the North Tower, which ignited fires on multiple floors. However, many find this explanation unconvincing, particularly given the building's design and the nature of its collapse. Building 7 was designed to withstand significant damage, including fire and impact. Its sudden and straight-down collapse, reminiscent of a controlled demolition, has led some to believe that explosives were involved. Adding to the intrigue are the eyewitness accounts from firefighters and first responders. Some reported hearing explosions in the building before its collapse. The destruction of Building 7 remains a perplexing and controversial aspect of the 9/11 attacks. The events of 9/11 had far-reaching consequences, not only in terms of human life and global politics, but also in the realm of finance. In the aftermath of the attacks, questions arose about potential insider trading and financial irregularities that seemed to point towards foreknowledge of the tragic events. Days leading up to 9/11, an unusually high volume of put options were placed on the stocks of American Airlines and United Airlines, both of which had planes hijacked during the attacks. These put options, essentially bets that the stock prices would fall, yielded significant profits for their holders. Adding to the intrigue was the announcement by then Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld on September 10, 2001, that the Pentagon couldn't account for $2.3 trillion. This staggering sum, unaccounted for in the Department of Defense's budget, fueled speculation about financial mismanagement and potential motives for war. The timing of this announcement, just one day before the attacks, struck many as suspicious. The financial irregularities surrounding 9/11, while often overlooked, represent a crucial piece of the puzzle. In the aftermath of any tragedy, it's natural to ask who benefited. This question, often whispered in hushed tones, takes on a different weight when considering the events of 9/11. The attacks and the subsequent war on terror led to a dramatic reshaping of global geopolitics and a significant increase in American military spending. The Bush administration used the 9/11 attacks as justification to invade Afghanistan and Iraq, countries long in the crosshairs of American foreign policy. The war on terror provided a pretext for military intervention in the oil-rich Middle East, securing American access to vital resources and expanding its sphere of influence. The defense industry, in particular, reaped enormous profits from the subsequent surge in military spending. The attacks also provided the impetus for the creation of the Department of Homeland Security and the passage of the Patriot Act, both of which dramatically expanded the surveillance powers of the U.S. government. Civil liberties were eroded in the name of national security, with mass surveillance programs implemented and dissent often silenced. Examining who benefited from 9/11 is not about peddling conspiracy theories. It's about understanding the profound and lasting impact of the attacks on our world. Years after the towers fell, we are left with more questions than answers. The official narrative, while seemingly comprehensive, fails to address crucial inconsistencies and unanswered questions surrounding the events of 9/11. Why were warnings from intelligence agencies about potential attacks ignored? How could the most heavily defended country in the world be caught so off guard? Why was a thorough and independent investigation into the collapse of Building 7 never conducted? These are just a few of the lingering questions that continue to haunt us. The quest for truth about 9/11 is not about disrespecting the victims or their families. It's about honoring their memory by demanding a full accounting of what happened on that tragic day. It's about ensuring that such a tragedy never happens again by exposing any potential failures, cover-ups, or conspiracies. We owe it to ourselves, to the victims, and to future generations to never stop questioning, never stop seeking answers. The truth may be elusive, but the pursuit of it is paramount.